Integrating Gamaliel, returning to foundation. The inner world is one of consciousness's greatest gifts. It is through the mind that we imagine, through emotion that we experience meaning, through memory that we learn, through intuition that we perceive beyond words. Yet these same gifts become sources of confusion when they are either rejected or unconsciously believed. Some seek peace by suppressing their inner world. Others become imprisoned by every thought, every emotion, and every story the mind creates. Though these expressions appear opposite, they arise from the same fragmentation. One fears the inner world, the other becomes consumed by it. Neither fully embodies Yasod. Integration begins when we no longer seek to silence the mind or surrender ourselves to it. Instead, we learn to consciously relate to it. Thoughts become tools rather than masters. Emotions become messengers rather than identity. Imagination becomes creativity rather than projection. Memory becomes wisdom rather than imprisonment. This is the restoration of Yasod, not the rejection of the inner world, not imprisonment within it, but the conscious establishment of a stable foundation through which reality may be experienced with clarity. Healing repression. When the inner world is rejected, emotions become something to avoid. Thoughts become something to suppress, intuition becomes something to distrust. The individual attempts to remain in control by disconnecting from their own inner experience. Yet what is rejected continues influencing life from beneath awareness. Healing begins by allowing the inner world to become visible once again, not to become consumed by it, but to understand it. Practices create space each day for honest self observation. Journal without attempting to fix what arises. Allow yourself to fully experience emotion without immediately explaining it away. Pay attention to recurring dreams, symbols, and patterns within your life. When discomfort arises, resist the urge to distract yourself. Instead, become curious. Ask, what is this experience trying to teach me? Learn to welcome your inner world with compassion rather than fear. Understanding begins where avoidance ends. Healing possession. When the inner world becomes identity, every thought demands belief. Every emotion demands action. Every fear predicts the future. The individual gradually becomes trapped within an endless conversation with the mind. Healing begins by remembering that awareness exists before every thought. Thoughts are experiences, they are not identity. Emotions are experiences, they are not identity. The mind is a remarkable instrument. It was never meant to become the master. Practices. Practice observing thoughts without immediately believing them. When strong emotions arise, pause before reacting. Take several conscious breaths. Ask yourself, am I responding to direct experience or to the story my mind is creating? Practice distinguishing observation from interpretation. Notice when the mind predicts outcomes that have not yet occurred. Return gently to the present moment. The goal is not to stop thinking, it is to stop unconsciously identifying with every thought. Awareness gradually restores the foundation. Integration, as both extremes begin to soften, the relationship with the inner world naturally changes. Thoughts continue to arise, they no longer dominate. Emotions continue to arise, they no longer define identity. Imagination continues creating, it no longer imprisons perception. Memory continues teaching, it no longer confines the present. The inner world becomes a faithful foundation rather than an unconscious authority. Instead of reacting to every moment within the mind, we begin responding from conscious awareness. This is the return of Yasod, not a silent mind, not an uncontrolled mind, but a conscious relationship with the mind. The foundation becomes stable because it rests upon awareness rather than unconscious conditioning. Recognition. As Gamaliel begins to integrate, subtle changes begin appearing. You become less reactive to passing thoughts. Strong emotions continue to arise, yet they no longer completely govern your behavior. You notice assumptions before believing them. Old patterns become easier to recognize. Curiosity gradually replaces certainty. Presence replaces projection. Your imagination becomes increasingly creative rather than fearful. You begin responding to reality more than to your interpretations of reality. The inner world no longer feels like something to suppress or escape. It becomes a place of discovery, a place of wisdom, a place from which conscious living naturally emerges. Living expression. As the Yesod becomes embodied, your inner and outer worlds gradually come into harmony. Your decisions become less reactive and more intentional. Relationships deepen because you begin seeing others more clearly rather than through unconscious projection. Creativity flourishes because imagination is no longer consumed by fear. Peace arises not because the mind has become silent, but because it no longer governs your identity. You become grounded without becoming rigid, open without becoming overwhelmed, reflective without becoming trapped in thought. The foundation of your life gradually shifts from unconscious conditioning to conscious awareness. Every action becomes increasingly aligned with reality rather than projection. This is the living expression of Yesod. Reflection. Take a quiet moment to observe your inner world. Ask yourself, which expression of Gamaliel has shaped my life more deeply, repression or possession? Which practices speak most directly to where I am today? What thoughts do I repeatedly mistake for reality? What emotions am I still avoiding? How can I become more aware of my inner world without becoming identified with it? What would change if awareness became the foundation from which I experienced life? The foundation of a meaningful life is not built by controlling the mind. It is built by understanding it. Every moment of conscious observation strengthens the ground upon which your life is built.